Vtubers. You know them, you love them. Streamers that use an anime character to represent themselves. Some have cool designs. Some have elaborate backstories. But at the end of the day, they're just like any other streamer. But what if they weren't? What if instead of having their character and backstory as mere set dressing, they truly committed to the bit? Allow me to introduce you to Sofie. On the surface, Sofie looks like every other indie VTuber. She talks to chat.
We have the same thoughts because we're the same person. We have the same thoughts because we are the same.
She plays games.
Projectiles into nukes. I think that'll help me. Right? For only that amount of time? Ah!
She summons eldritch horrors, the usual indie VTuber stuff. If you look below the surface, however, there's a compelling story being told through the medium of VTubing. A story that uses the strength of live streaming to engage the audience in novel ways. And no story would be complete without a protagonist. Part 1. 50F-I3. At first glance, Sofie's gimmick is par for the course. The TLDR is, she's an SCP. She's locked in a box, she streams to a different universe. What sets her apart from the rest, however, is the sheer commitment to the role she has. Where an average VTuber may occasionally reference a backstory, Sofie lives and breathes hers. As an example,
Sofie, hey, what's going on? You alright? They had me working another floor again, but I just got back and your vitals are out of control.
Kane, thank you. Oh my god, I'm so happy you're back. Kane, things have not been okay. I'm so happy to hear you. The voices, they're back, and they say that they're real. And I think I believe them. Can you hear them?
This commitment to the character isn't just limited to the streams. Sofie remains in character on all of her socials. For example, in the R.I.F.T Discord, Sofie has been silent, with one exception. A single time she's allowed to access the Discord before permission was revoked due to the magic of Christmas. Now that we've talked about the protagonist, let's move on to the supporting cast. Part 2. The supporting cast. Starting our supporting lineup is our moderator Calib. Calib is an AI in Sofie's computer terminal. Along with being able to moderate the stream in character, Calib is an active participant in the story.
She can't hear me, but she can hear you. Speak up.
It's them.
Let her know you're there. Do not let her ignore you. Be a presence. Be real.
Lastly, we have our stand-ins for R.I.F.T. Most of the interactions of R.I.F.T personnel are limited to the main doctor in charge of Sofie, Dr. Kane. Recently, however, we've had appearances from other R.I.F.T doctors, such as Dr. Sinclair. All these characters lend themselves to telling a rather interesting story. Part 3. The lore. Much of the early world building came from quote-unquote leaked R.I.F.T documents. These documents provide background into the characters and world of R.I.F.T. As the project continued, more lore was revealed in the streams themselves. Sofie herself wasn't aware of much of R.I.F.'s inner workings, but her experiences, as well as information from Calib and occasionally Kane, provided context for leaked documents. This style of documents and streams providing information would continue up to the first community cipher. These ciphers were enthusiastically received by the community, with many members working together to solve them. Because of this, the trend of ciphers being in streams would continue. These ciphers would increase in complexity over time, as Sofie and Calib tried in vain to make a cipher that wasn't solved by the following day. Part 4. The timeline. To cap off this video, I'm going to give a brief timeline of what I'm calling Act 1 of the Sofie saga, which covers her first stream to the end of May 2024. The beginning of when Sofie streams forms a mini-arc where she had to be convinced that Twitch chat was real and not just a delusion. Following that, there's a lull where a comfortable rhythm of cozy gaming and reaction streams would emerge, with the occasional lore document being dropped. After that lull, there is a stream where the first Stage 4 incident occurred, where Sofie was under enough emotional stress to progress into Stage 4 of her abilities for the first time. This led to a renewed community interest in Sofie's abilities and limits. Somewhere around here in the timeline, it was discovered that Sofie had a limited time frame to be profitable for R.I.F.T, or she would be terminated. Around here is where the ciphers happened, with each cipher being a mini lore drop for the community to solve. Running parallel to these ciphers, there were community discussions on how to make Sofie profitable to avoid her termination. The exact date of her termination was still unknown at this time, but it was known to be no later than the end of 2024. Finally, Act 1 concludes with a visit from Dr. Sinclair and Dr. Kane, who come to the conclusion that there is merit in the idea of using Sofie to pirate media from other dimensions. This leads to Sofie's termination being postponed, and much relief for the community. Part 5. The Community. Before we end off, there's one more thing I need to talk about. The community. The community plays an active role in the story, with each member bringing their own contributions. There's too many people to have a comprehensive list, but here's a few of my personal standouts. Yule's biggest contribution to the streams have been their media suggestions. Yule has streamed several games that Sofie has played. Additionally, they were the catalyst behind the fan art event in the Discord, where several of us made fan art of something related to Rift. Taro's a wild card, often acting as a devil's advocate. He balances out Sofie's reliance on chat by being a source of often poor advice, encouraging her to think for herself rather than relying on chat. Also helped me out with Adobe Premiere, so shout out for that. Vox, Crafter, and I make up what I like to call the Cypher Squad. When a new cipher is released, we jump at it, solving them way ahead of schedule. We quickly inform the rest of the community of what was ciphered, as well as bounce additional theories off of each other. Anyways, that's the video. Special thanks to everyone in the Rift Discord. This video wouldn't be possible without all of you. Shout out to Microsoft Edge for giving me a read-write error every time I tried to use Adobe Premiere to make this thing. Very fun, very cool. I do some very funny workarounds. If you want to subscribe, don't. Subscribe to Sofie instead. They deserve it more than me. I won't be doing anything else on this channel for most likely, so subscribe to her. That's it. Bye!